They saw his tailored Navy suit but missed the man who wore it. Silicon Valley whispered his name in reverence. Yet here in the glittering Vanderbilt gala, Alexander Mitchell was invisible. The chandeliers cast judgmental shadows across faces that valued appearance over substance. Alex stood tall at the entrance, his confidence earned through years of resiliency. 7 years earlier, these same marble floors had witnessed his humiliation when Eleanor Vanderbilt discovered he was gay and terminated his employment. That day, as security escorted him out, she had whispered with venom, "People like you don't belong in our world." Now he returned, no longer the brilliant analyst with innovative ideas deemed too risky. Those rejected concepts had built Horizon Innovations, a tech empire now worth twice Vanderbilt Enterprises. The neural interface platform that Eleanor's board had dismissed as science fiction now powered medical devices in hospitals nationwide. The authentication system they called unnecessarily complex protected the financial data of millions. Alex had transformed rejection into revolution. The irony wasn't lost on him as he presented his embossed invitation to the frowning receptionist. Her eyes narrowed, scanning him with suspicion despite his credentials. "I don't see your name, sir," she said coldly. Though the invitation bore the Vanderbilt seal, Alex simply nodded, accustomed to being erased. The proposed merger between Horizon and Vanderbilt represented more than business, it symbolized vindication. The Vanderbilts, desperate for innovation after 3 consecutive quarters of declining revenue, had pursued the partnership for months without realizing who headed Horizon. Their representatives had always met with Alex's team, never with him directly. Tonight would change everything. Through the grand archway, Alex spotted Thomas Vanderbilt, Eleanor's youngest son. Their eyes met briefly before Thomas looked away, the weight of his secret evident in his hunched shoulders. Alex had known Thomas was gay since they worked together years ago. He also knew Thomas lived in constant fear of his family discovering his truth. The younger Vanderbilt had chosen the family legacy over authenticity, a choice Alex understood but could never make himself. Silicon Valley culture, for all its progressive posturing, still maintained glass ceilings for those who didn't fit certain molds. Alex had faced them, all the venture capitalists who'd ask about his wife during pitch meetings, the conference organizers who'd inexplicably move his speaking slots to less prominent times, the subtle ways power insulates itself from difference. He'd built Horizon specifically to shatter those barriers. Victoria Vanderbilt approached, champagne glass dangling between manicured fingers, her designer gown likely costing more than what most Americans earned in months. "You seem lost," she said, her smile never reaching her eyes. Before Alex could respond, Eleanor appeared beside her daughter, regal in midnight blue, her gaze cutting through Alex like a diamond through glass. "Mother, this man claims to be invited." Victoria smirked, examining Alex with the dismissive glance reserved for service staff who dared mingle with guests. Alex felt the familiar tightness in his chest, the same sensation he had experienced in boardrooms and venture capital meetings where people like him weren't welcome. But tonight was different. Tonight, he wasn't asking for permission to belong. Follow heart stories for powerful journeys of courage that remind us sometimes being underestimated is your greatest advantage. "Alexander Mitchell," Eleanor repeated, her eyes narrowing in recognition. The name rolled off her tongue like something distasteful she needed to expel. "The name sounds vaguely familiar." Her tone suggested otherwise. She remembered exactly who he was. 7 years hadn't softened her sharp edges, nor diminished her talent for weaponizing politeness. "We've met," Alex replied simply. His calm demeanor contrasted with the storm brewing in Eleanor's eyes. Several guests had paused their conversations, sensing the tension crackling between them like static before lightning strikes. The New York elite had always possessed a sixth sense for approaching drama. Victoria circled Alex like a predator assessing weakness, her silk gown rustling softly against the marble floor. "Mother, isn't he that analyst you fired years ago? The one with the alternative lifestyle?" Her words dripped with performative innocence while her eyes flashed with cruelty. The Vanderbilt siblings had inherited their mother's talent for making cruelty sound like concern. Eleanor's lips curled into a practiced smile that had charmed senators and intimidated CEOs in equal measure. Indeed, though I'm surprised to see him here. Well, I'm surprised. This gathering is for Vanderbilt's closest partners and beneficiaries. She emphasized the word closest, as though proximity to their family name was the highest honor society could bestow. In her world, it was from across the room. Thomas watched the exchange, his champagne glass gripped so tightly his knuckles whitened beneath his signet ring. His eyes pleaded with Alex for silence, for discretion, for mercy. The unspoken history between them hung in the air like crystal dust caught in chandelier light. They had been more than colleagues once, in those stolen moments after late meetings, before Thomas retreated behind the Vanderbilt facade. "I received an invitation," Alex stated, revealing nothing of the strategic chess game unfolding behind his neutral expression. The merger document sat unsigned in Vanderbilt's legal department, awaiting final approval at tomorrow's board meeting. The Vanderbilt name still carried weight in the business world, but their innovation had stagnated years ago. They needed Horizon's technology more than they cared to admit, especially their quantum encryption protocol that had the Pentagon's attention. Eleanor stepped closer, her perfume exclusive and custom blended, creating an invisible barrier between them and the rest of the room. Her voice dropped to a whisper, sharp as a scalpel. "How do you know my son?" The question carried accusation, as though Alex had committed some unforgivable trespass merely by existing in Thomas's orbit. "We worked together before you terminated my employment." Alex maintained eye contact, refusing to be diminished by her proximity or power. Around them, Manhattan's business royalty pretended not to eavesdrop while hanging on every word. Her eyes flashed, decades of controlling the family narrative, threatened by this unexpected variable. "You corrupted him with your ideas." The pause made it clear she wasn't referring to his business proposals. Thomas was perfectly normal until, "Mother, please." Thomas appeared beside them, his complexion ashen beneath his carefully maintained tan. The Harvard MBA and Vanderbilt heir apparent looked suddenly like the uncertain young man Alex had known years before. "This isn't the place." "It's exactly the place," Eleanor countered, each word precisely placed like stones in a wall. "We protect our family name in public, in private." She turned to Alex, abandoning pretense. "People like you think you can influence others, spread your lifestyle choices like some progressive disease. You may have fooled some venture capitalists with your sob story and diversity quotas, but this is New York, not your California commune." The surrounding guests shifted uncomfortably. Some pretended not to listen, while others recorded discreetly on their phones, sensing the potential viral moment unfolding in real time. In the age of social media, even the most exclusive gatherings had become potential theaters for public scandal. "My existence isn't a political statement, Mrs. Vanderbilt," Alex responded, his voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through his veins. "Neither is your son's." Eleanor's hand moved with calculated precision as she tilted her wine glass. The crimson liquid cascaded down Alex's vest in a deliberate arc, a public execution disguised as accident. "Oh my," she gasped with theatrical concern that fooled no one. "How clumsy of me." The assembled crowd reacted with nervous laughter and shocked gasps. Victoria smirked openly while Thomas looked physically ill. The family dynamics laid bare in their expressions. A waiter rushed forward with napkins, but Alex waved him away. Understanding this moment required witnesses. "You've stained yourself," Eleanor whispered, her voice carrying just far enough to reach those nearest. "Just like you tried to stain my son." In moments of crisis, character reveals itself with startling clarity not through grand proclamations, but through the quiet dignity that remains when others attempt to strip it away. Alex didn't raise his voice as he dabbed the wine from his vest. The crimson spread like a battle wound across the expensive fabric, marking him as clearly as any scarlet letter. His breathing remained steady, while conversations around them hushed to expectant whispers. The gathered elite CEOs, politicians, and old money heirs watched the drama unfold with the detached interest of theater critics at a Broadway premiere. Their world thrived on such moments, though they pretended to abhor them. 7 years ago, you told me I didn't belong. Alex said quietly. His words meant for Eleanor alone, though others strained to hear. The acoustics of the grand ballroom carried his voice despite its softness. You said my ideas were unrealistic and my presence was inappropriate for Vanderbilt. That my personal choices reflected poorly on your company values. Eleanor's perfectly composed face revealed nothing, but her eyes darted toward Thomas, who stood frozen in place like a deer sensing predators. Business decisions are never personal, she replied with practiced ease, the line rehearsed through decades of corporate politics. Though some people simply don't fit certain environments, Silicon Valley better suits your creative approach. Alex removed his phone from his jacket pocket, the same model that had made Horizon a household name across America. The sleek device gleamed under the chandeliers, a physical manifestation of everything the Vanderbilts had rejected. With 3 precise taps, every digital screen in the ballroom went dark simultaneously. The projectors displaying Vanderbilt's charitable achievements, the digital art displays worth millions, even the tablets held by waitstaff recording orders, all black, in perfect synchronization. The sudden technological darkness startled the crowd. Confused murmurs rippled through the ballroom as Alex held Eleanor's gaze without blinking. The power dynamic had shifted, imperceptible but unmistakable. Then, as one, the screens illuminated again. Each display now showed the same image, the Horizon Innovations logo, alongside Vanderbilt Enterprises, with the words "Merger Status Review Pending" beneath them in elegant typography. "What is the meaning of this?" Victoria demanded, her voice no longer carrying its usual confidence. The control she prized slipping like sand between manicured fingers. The screens changed again, displaying Alexander Mitchell's corporate profile, CEO and founder of Horizon Innovations, the company whose acquisition would save Vanderbilt Enterprises from technological irrelevance. The $5 billion merger that Eleanor had pursued through intermediaries for months was now revealed to be with the very man she just publicly humiliated. The succession of images continued: Horizon's stock growth chart, innovation awards, Forbes cover featuring Alex, and finally the original neural interface proposal he'd presented to Vanderbilt 7 years earlier, now the cornerstone of Horizon's success. "You're the..." Eleanor's voice faltered for perhaps the first time in her public life. The realization spread across her features like a slow-motion collision. "The CEO of Horizon, yes." Alex's voice remained level, neither gloating nor angry. "The same person who pitched the neural interface concept to your board 7 years ago, the technology now valued at $12 billion and currently being adapted by 3 major medical device manufacturers for paralysis treatment." The room had fallen completely silent. Even the string quartet had stopped playing, the musicians watching the confrontation with undisguised interest. The soft clink of jewelry and crystal was the only sound as guests shifted uncomfortably, witnessing power dynamics recalibrate in real time. Thomas stepped forward, his shoulders squared despite the tremor in his hands, the weight of generations of Vanderbilt expectations visibly lifting from him with each step. "I can't do this anymore," he announced, loud enough for everyone to hear. The vulnerability in his voice contrasted sharply with the practiced Vanderbilt confidence that had been drilled into him since childhood. "Mother, I'm gay. I've always been gay. And I've spent my entire life terrified you would look at me the way you look at Alex, like I'm something broken. Something shameful that needs to be hidden away or fixed." Eleanor's composed facade cracked like fine porcelain under pressure. "Thomas, this isn't the time." "It's exactly the time," Thomas interrupted, his voice gaining strength with each word, the years of silence breaking like a dam. "You just humiliated one of the most successful tech innovators in the country because of who he is, not what he's accomplished. And you did it while pursuing his company's resources to save ours. The quarterly reports show we're hemorrhaging market share. The innovation pipeline is empty. The merger with Horizon was going to be your legacy, saving the Vanderbilt name from becoming irrelevant." The gathered crowd collectively held their breath. In America's elite business circles, public confrontations were considered gauche, yet no one moved to leave. The raw authenticity of the moment held them captive in a world where authenticity was the rarest commodity of all. Several phones recorded surreptitiously, their small red lights betraying the moment's historical significance. True courage isn't about power or position. It emerges in those critical moments when speaking your truth costs everything you've been taught to value. The silence that followed Thomas's declaration felt eternal. Eleanor's hand trembled slightly, the only visible crack in her aristocratic composure honed through decades of board meetings and society galas. Victoria's smirk had vanished, replaced by calculation as she assessed the shifting power dynamics with the cold precision of a chess master seeing checkmate 3 moves ahead. The merger had been her project, her path to eventually assuming leadership of Vanderbilt Enterprises after years of being overlooked despite her Harvard MBA and strategic mind. "Alexander, surely we can discuss this privately," Eleanor finally said, her voice honeyed with desperation but edged with steel. The public relations expert in her already calculating damage control strategies. "Business and personal matters should remain separated. We can schedule a proper meeting tomorrow with legal teams present. This is hardly the venue for such discussions." Alex studied her with calm detachment, seeing beyond her practiced charm to the calculation beneath. "That's precisely what I tried to tell you 7 years ago when you fired me for being gay. You said, and I quote, 'Your personal choices reflect on our corporate values.' You made it clear that who I am was inseparable from my professional capabilities." Several gasps punctuated the silence. One board member visibly winced, remembering his silent complicity during that meeting. Nearby, a venture capitalist who had rejected Alex's early funding requests studied his shoes with sudden interest. "The market has evolved," Eleanor countered smoothly, retreating to the safe harbor of corporate speak. "Our policies have adapted with the times. Vanderbilt Enterprises now scores highly on diversity metrics. We sponsor 3 Pride events annually." The rehearsed response sounded hollow even to her own ears. "Your policies? Perhaps not your beliefs." Alex gestured toward the wine stain spreading across his vest like a crimson map of his journey. "Actions reveal truth when words attempt to conceal it. 5 minutes ago, you deliberately humiliated me for the same reason you fired me 7 years ago. The only difference is that now, the consequences fall on you, not me." Thomas remained beside Alex, his presence a silent repudiation of everything his family had taught him about protecting the Vanderbilt name at all costs. The family mantra, "reputation above all," now seemed like a prison rather than a shield. "I've reviewed the merger documents," Thomas said, his financial acumen showing through personal turmoil. "Horizon's innovation would save us from becoming obsolete within 18 months. We need them more than they need us. The technology gap is insurmountable without external partnership." Victoria stepped forward, practical even in crisis, her mind always on the bottom line. "Mother, the board meeting is tomorrow. We can salvage this." Her voice dropped lower, though in the hushed room everyone heard. "Mr. Mitchell is a businessman. He understands the merger's value exceeds $5 billion. Perhaps a restructuring of terms, additional board seats." Her words trailed off as she registered Alex's unwavering expression. Alex's expression remained unchanged as he tapped his phone once more. The screens around the ballroom updated with a new message. "Horizon Innovations withdraws from merger negotiations with Vanderbilt Enterprises, effective immediately." The statement appeared simultaneously on Horizon's official social media accounts and investor relations page, making the private humiliation irrevocably public. The collective shock was palpable. Several people immediately reached for their phones, undoubtedly contacting brokers despite the late hour. Vanderbilt stock would plummet when markets opened. The financial implications rippled through the room like an invisible earthquake, fortunes and futures recalculating in real time. "You can't do this," Eleanor whispered, her composure finally crumbling like ancient marble exposed too long to elements. "This merger took months to negotiate. The board has already factored it into next quarter's projections. The market response will be catastrophic." For the first time, genuine fear replaced calculation in her eyes. "I'm not doing this to punish you," Alex replied, his tone neither vindictive nor triumphant. Horizon partners with companies that share our values: innovation, integrity, and human dignity. I can't ask my employees to join an organization where they might be judged for who they are rather than what they contribute. My responsibility extends beyond profit margins to the culture we create. A guest near the front began applauding, followed by another, then several more. The supportive response seemed to surprise even Alex, who had grown accustomed to fighting these battles alone. The tide of public opinion shifting visibly as the room recalibrated around the new power center. "You've ruined us," Eleanor hissed, her mask of civility abandoned like a useless prop. Decades of careful image curation dissolved in seconds of unguarded truth. "No, Mother," Thomas interjected, stepping fully into his own voice perhaps for the first time. "We did that ourselves by building a culture where appearance matters more than substance, where preserving outdated values became more important than creating new ones." He removed his Vanderbilt insignia pin, the one given to family members who joined the company, and placed it on a nearby table with deliberate care. "I can't be part of this anymore. Not the company, not the pretense." Someone in the crowd was live streaming the entire confrontation, the red recording light visible in the periphery. The video would reach millions by morning, forever changing both companies' public narratives. In the digital age, private injustices rarely remain private, particularly when witnessed by hundreds at the social event of the season. In business as in life, we eventually face the true cost of valuing reputation over character, of prioritizing what others think over what we know to be right. 6 months transformed both companies in ways no business analyst could have predicted. Vanderbilt Enterprises, once the epitome of old money stability, collapsed under the weight of its outdated values and technologies. Their stock plummeted 60% before they were acquired by a competitor for a fraction of their former value. Eleanor Vanderbilt resigned in disgrace, retreating to their Hampton estate where she refused all interview requests and became virtually invisible in the social circles she once dominated. Meanwhile, Horizon Innovations flourished. Their inclusive workplace policies attracted top talent, including many former Vanderbilt employees who brought valuable institutional knowledge without the toxic culture. Among them was Thomas Vanderbilt, hired not for his family name, but for his genuine talent and financial strategy. The transition wasn't easy. He endured harsh criticism from former family allies and the painful severing of lifelong connections. But his colleagues at Horizon witnessed his gradual unfurling into authenticity with quiet respect. "We're not building a company," Alex explained during a CNBC interview that went viral across business schools and corporate boardrooms. "We're creating a blueprint for what business can become when human dignity is valued as highly as profit margins. The data is irrefutable. Diverse companies innovate faster and adapt better to changing markets. Our turnover rate is 1/3 the industry average because people don't leave environments where they can be themselves." The Vanderbilt incident, as business schools now called it, appeared in ethics textbooks and DEI training programs across corporate America. The video had accumulated over 50 million views, becoming a watershed moment in discussions about LGBTQ+ acceptance in executive leadership. What began as a personal humiliation had catalyzed a broader conversation about invisible barriers in America's supposedly meritocratic business culture. Thomas thrived away from his family's shadow. The quiet analyst who once hid behind spreadsheets now co-chaired Horizon's Diversity Council alongside his financial duties. The transformation in his confidence was remarkable, standing taller, speaking with conviction, finally comfortable in his own skin. His relationship with Alex evolved from professional to personal, their shared history becoming foundation rather than obstacle. Victoria, surprisingly, reached out to her brother 3 months after the gala. Their reconciliation began tentatively over coffee in a neutral Manhattan cafe, away from family politics. She had been ousted from Vanderbilt during the acquisition, her ambitions a collateral damage in the company's implosion. The conversation marked the beginning of her own reckoning with the values she'd unquestioningly inherited. On the anniversary of that fateful gala, Horizon hosted its own charity event. The contrast couldn't have been more striking. Gone were the rigid social hierarchies and whispered judgments. In their place stood a genuine celebration of human achievement across all backgrounds. CEOs mingled with entry-level employees. Conversations focused on ideas rather than status. The event raised $30 million for LGBTQ+ youth programs nationwide, with particular emphasis on tech education for underrepresented communities. As Alex and Thomas stood side by side on stage, their relationship, both professional and personal, represented everything Eleanor had feared and fought against. Yet their partnership had created more value in 6 months than Vanderbilt had generated in 5 years. The market responded accordingly. Horizon's stock had doubled since the abandoned merger. Weinstein's wash out, Alex told the assembled crowd during his closing remarks, referencing the moment that had become symbolic of a larger cultural shift. But the stains on one's character persist unless we actively work to change. The true measure of success isn't what we accumulate or who we impress, it's whether we create spaces where everyone can contribute their unique gifts without fear. The applause that followed wasn't just for his words, but for the living example he and Thomas provided, proof that authenticity and excellence weren't competing values but complementary strengths. The business world was slowly learning what Alex had known all along: innovation thrives when people bring their whole selves to the table. Have you ever stood firm in your truth when others tried to diminish your worth? Share your story in the comments. Sometimes the most powerful act of courage is simply refusing to be less than who you truly are. Follow Heart Stories for more powerful journeys that remind us our greatest contributions come when we bring our whole selves to everything we do.